This is an Iorio Series G accordion, which I'm going to be putting on eBay, and I'm doing this tape to demonstrate it, and I will explain it in more detail, but the picture you're seeing first is of the Iorio accordion. It will come with an Elkavox 77 tone generator, and this particular tone generator actually has a Midi circuit installed, and you can see there the Midi connector, so that this will work with Midi also. So this accordion can be played three ways: as an acoustic accordion, as an electronic accordion with the organ sounds of the Elkavox 77, or it can also be connected to a MIDI synthesizer module, MIDI synth module, and you can play MIDI music with it. I'll demonstrate this. You also can play simply an amplified acoustic accordion, even without the use of the tone generator, and I'll explain all of that in a moment. I will demonstrate shortly. Thanks for watching. I am back to demonstrate the Iorio Series G accordion as an acoustic accordion, and it is a what's called a 3/4 reed accordion. It has 3 sets of reeds on the treble side and 4 sets of reeds on the bass side. The literature says they are handmade reeds, so they're very good quality, and I'm going to demonstrate that they play with both the push and the pull of the bellows. That's the treble side. Now the bass side. Okay, there are a number of switches for the acoustic accordion. On this side there's the master, the bassoon, the bandone, the clarinet, the musette, and then there's a close switch, so you can close off the bellows, so you can't, basically you can't play anything from the treble side acoustically if that close switch is pressed. First I'm going to demonstrate the bassoon reed. And now the clarinet reed. The bassoon reed, by the way, is often called a low reed. The clarinet reed is called the middle reed. And now the musette switch gives the 2 middle reeds. This is a low, middle reed accordion. Those are the 3 reeds. And with the 2 middle reeds playing, they're slightly tuned off of one another, and it gives you a musette sound like. And with all of them, with the master on, and there are also a number of possible sounds on the bass side. This is the master with the C bass in a major chord, C in a minor, C in a 7, and C diminished. There's also a counterbass row, and those of you who play accordion will know what that is. If you buy the accordion to learn to play, you will learn in time what that is. that side can also be closed off so that you cannot hear the acoustic sounds. The reason you'd want to do that is if you're playing the electronic sounds and you don't want to hear also the acoustic sounds at the same time. Here's another switch, and yet another switch, another combination of reeds. I usually just play the master, so that's basically it. Now, in addition to playing the accordion as an acoustic accordion, well, I'll play that for a minute, just a little bit. So forth. But in addition to playing it in that mode, you can also, without even hooking up the tone generator, if you connect this to an amplifier, and the amplifier I'm using will not be included in the eBay sale because I use it with other instruments, so in order to use the full capability of this accordion, you'd also need to buy an amplifier, but used amplifiers can be purchased pretty reasonably. Right now this accordion is hooked up to nothing but, and you'll see right here on the bottom there's a what's called a guitar cord, which is a simple 1/4 inch jack on each end. This one goes into the accordion here, and there's one into an amplifier over in another part of the room. And I will turn on the amplifier and etc. So you can play an amplified acoustic accordion without even carting the generator around, which is a little big and a little heavy, but it's not too bad to cart around. So that's the instrument acoustically and with amplified acoustics. I'm going to stop the tape now and kind of reconnect and set things up so that I can show you some of the electronic sounds of the accordion. I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate some of the electronic or almost organ sounding sounds of the accordion. And to do that, I've hooked it up to the Elkavox 77 tone generator, plugged that generator in and connected the general out to the amplifier, and of course turn the amplifier on. Whenever you're using the Elkavox 77 tone generator, the instructions say that it should be connected to an amplifier. The general out should be connected to an amplifier with a guitar switch. So remember that if you're going to use one. Now there's a red tabs button here that is already pressed down, so I'm going to use that, and I'm going to show you some of the electronic sounds. Here's a flute, and it's flute 16. Then there's also a flute 8 and a flute 4 and a flute, I never remember this one, but 2 2/3. Now you can use, and I'm going to use both hands to show this, you can use these singularly or you can add them together. Like here's the flute, the flute 8. Now I'm going to add in the flute 4. And I'll add, I'm sorry, it was flute 16 and I added the 8. Now I'm going to add in the flute 4. I'm going to add in the 2 2/3, and that's So you can do that with other things too, but the next feature I'm going to show you is the percussion, and obviously it just makes a little percussion sound at the tone according to what note you're playing. But if you do percussion long, it'll play longer. You can do a repeat. By holding down on it, it'll repeat. Now there's a switch here which you can make the repeat faster. I haven't figured out how or when I'd use that, but some of you who are more creative than I am musically will probably be able to use that to some good advantage. And as with the flute sounds, you can combine percussion sounds to have multiple tones with one sound. Now, this switch is a vibrato switch, which works with the flutes. So if let's say I'm playing a flute 8, by pressing this switch, you hear the you can give it some vibrato, and of course you can do that with multiple flutes. Then these orange switches, the first one says violin and cello, and whether it's a violin or a cello would obviously depend upon what octave you're playing in. And I think the vibrato may not work with those. It's white and associated with these white flute buttons down here, so it may only work there. But you can add in addition, you can add in strings to this. You can add a piano sound, or separate. Let's do it separately first. And finally, there's a kind of a clavichord sound. And of course, you can do all of these. And you even can do, I think, yeah, you can mix different instruments together here. Now, so you can experiment and come up with a lot of connections. Now your basses and chords are here, and here's a bass that is the volume of which is controlled by this slider switch right here. So and then there are various ways you can use chords. There's also piano bass. You can put the two together. You can do a sustain with the bass. And the chords, if I press this, you've got a flute chord and then a string chord and a sustain with those. And I forget what this one is. Oh, this is a piano chord. I usually use this chord, but you can play with whatever you want there. And the chord volume you control with this slider switch. So you can adjust your basses and chords to however you like the volume there. So those are basically some of the functions that you can use, but Iorio went a step farther and they gave some kind of preset choices. Now, this accordion has had an occasional problem with these switches. When I press this one, sometimes it comes back out, and you saw it do that just then. Press it again, sometimes it'll stay in. Sometimes when you start to play it the first time, it'll come back out. Same thing with the second one, although they seem to be staying in pretty good right now. The third, different preset, and the fourth one, a different preset. Now this one obviously has some of that repeat function in it. So you can adjust that. And then there's a fifth set of presets. And if I go back to the first one, what I have learned is that when I pick up this accordion for the first time after not having played it for a while and I press the first one, sometimes it has a tendency to pop back. After I've gone through all of them and press it down again, it tends to stay down as it should. So you can play different combinations. So those are some of the possibilities just using these various switches, and I haven't begun to show you all of them. There's the strings. Let me just push the strings here. It has a sustain switch so that you can where did I, oh, it has a sustain here we go. Here there's hardly any sustain, and slide it down, there's much more sustain. The flutes have a sustain as well, which is this one. That one's hard to tell that it sustains it as much. And there's a mic's volume, which you can, when you look at the Elkavox generator, you can connect from the mic connection here to a mic connection in the Elkavox tone generator, and I think you can control the volume of mics of the acoustic sounds, but I've never found a need to do that, or never really practiced with it. So those are some of the things that you can do just with the Elkavox accordion and its tone generator. Now I'm going to set things up a little differently in a moment and demonstrate some of the Midi capabilities of this accordion, and that's one of the most exciting points for a lot of people. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, now I'm going to show you that this accordion can make many combinations of sounds when connected with Midi. And you know, at the beginning of this video I showed you that there's a Midi connector on the Elkavox 77 box. There were a few that had those Midi connectors added later, but they're fairly rare. And it's a really big plus, because by connecting a Midi cable from that to a MIDI synthesizer, this is a Roland JVC 1010 or JV1010, which is an older model MIDI synth that you can buy online. I think I paid $100 for this one. It's not for sale, it's not part of the package, but it's just to show you what you can do by adding a relatively inexpensive MIDI module. The way that the electronics come out of the Elkavox 77, the keyboard is set, the treble keyboard is set for channel 1, and the bass notes are set for channel 2, and the chords are set for channel 4. Now, I have not learned how to put all of these channels together, but I have seen where people have put them together by using Midi through to a second synthesizer to use for the bass channel, and Midi through to a third synthesizer to use for the chords. But I just have to set the basses and chords kind of the way I want them, and then play around with the treble. And you can hear some of the different sounds. Now, I've not learned how to do all of this, so my apologies for that, but here are some different sounds that you can get from the treble keyboard. This is channel 1. Some of them sound pretty similar to me. That one sounded pretty different. Now that one I would never use, but some people might. And there are many, many more. There are a lot of switches on here that I've not learned how to use, and you can switch from GM to patch to performance to rhythm, and I've not really learned how to use this yet. I'm just showing you that it can be connected and can make different sounds. If I put this on something that doesn't sound too unusual, let's see how this sounds here. A different sound and see what it sounds like. Not too terribly different. And there's just a lot of them. Okay, that gives you an idea of some of the different treble sounds you can do. Now, if I can do this without messing it up, I'm going to try to... This is basically a simple bass chord pattern. But if I change this MIDI device here from channel 1 to channel 2 and set this on patch, I can get all different kinds of sounds out of the bass. Some of them I don't know why I'd ever want. That one. Okay, now if I change it to channel 4, the chord buttons give me different sounds. I would never want to play it that way, but if you experiment around, you can find a combination you might want to play with. And that's basically some of the capabilities that this has, because the contacts in here are transmitted to the Elkavox 77, and there is an electronic board in there that changes the electronic impulses to MIDI impulses that can go to a MIDI board. And if you go to buy a MIDI accordion today, you'll realize the value of them and how expensive they are to be able to buy an accordion that can play MIDI. This one is going to be on eBay for a price that is going to be a super deal for somebody that wants to experiment without spending thousands of dollars. So I thank you for watching. As I say, it'll be on eBay. Feel free to ask me questions. And I hope this video has helped you to understand little bit about the value of this instrument. So I thank you for watching, and good luck to you.